Taiwan index, as you can see, is up 0.7%.
On the way up, watch out for the swing high that we saw earlier this week at 19,726.
So we expect RBI to be on a pause tomorrow.
They expect recovery only in the second half of this year.
They said that currently search is underway for a suitable replacement, about 90 points higher on the index.
Especially rural economy seems to be still having some challenges. The hope is things will improve, going forward.
Especially the routes like Delhi, Ahmedabad for the obvious reasons, have seen a surge of 89%.
The state of the world being as it is, no central bank can actually take it.
This morning, there is broad-based buying across key sectors.
100% of the respondents to our poll expect a status quo policy this time around.
I think as far as the future outlook is concerned, I think quarter on quarter, we are seeing gradual recovery in growth coming back.
The Nifty in 6 months prior to an election has rallied 10% or more.
At least 14 people have died and over 100, including 22 army personnel, have been reported missing in North Sikkim.
For the markets looking good, mid-cap index has also picked up some pace. So the Nifty sitting with gains of 114 points. It's been quite range-bound.
Well, that was the day so far. You're with us here on a fresh new edition of Closing Bell. We're coming to you from the CNBC-TV18 Motira Oswal studios. I'm Prashant. With me, my colleagues Rima and Surbi here in the studios. Nigel, of course, is joining us from the newsroom floor. Guys, hi. Good afternoon. There is, it's an up and up kind of a day. And I think it's an up and up kind of atmosphere as well. If you've been following what's happening in the Asian Games, the medal tally, the gold tally is... Even actually from the morning when we started Bazaar, I think from that point on, things have picked up quite a bit. I think 3 more golds since then.
20 golds in all? I don't know, maybe I'm behind
We were at 18 in the morning. I think 3 more.
I think we got 3 more.
3 more. Yeah. So I think we should be at 21.
India, it's like that.
And of course, there is the World Cup today, which kicks off. So
closing bell starts and the World Cup begins today, 2:30 p.m.
Absolutely. Well, so it's an up day for the market as well. Nifty is basically holding on. We started with a 100-point gain, and those 100 points are there in the screen. That's the good thing, the good part. The point is that you need to cross for, you want to look at it technically, more tactically. You need to then cross some levels, and that first level is 19,726, which is the recent swing high. There was a failure at that high, and then there was a sharp sell-off over the next 3 sessions. So that number is 19,726, some distance away, but we need a close above it eventually. Bank Nifty is cooled off. I mean, actually, talking about today's session, it's cooled off exactly from the 78% retracement high. Doesn't bode too well for prospects with that kind of price action. Even with that, we're up about 0.6% or so. Mid-cap, the high on the Bank Nifty, which is the resistance, is 44,755. We are about 450 odd points away from that number. I looked at mid-caps, they're underperforming. I mean, they're actually barely up. Small caps are doing a little better. The small cap index, I think, has got about 0.4% gains. Global markets, they're trading with small, tentative kind of gains, nothing very large. You looked at, so there was a big sell-off in yields, between 6 and 8 basis points across the curve. Treasury futures have sold off 1-2 basis points during Asian trade. So the direction is down, but nothing large has happened since last night. Dollar, I think, is also under control. There is, a bunch of data points which I think into the weekend will provide more clarity. The big one is, of course, tomorrow, which is the jobs data, the monthly jobs number, which I think will be the final kind of, decider between all kinds of data that has hit us. But before that, today we get the weekly jobless claims as well, which I think will be watched. But the big one is, of course, tomorrow. So still not out of the woods, but we've kind of managed to keep our head above the water, at least today, and holding on, at least to the morning opening gains. Rima.
I think that's key, right? The markets have held on to their gains.
Yeah.
The Nifty today, somewhere between 10:30, 11, had a brief dip below 19,500, and that was immediately bought into. And after that, we've been cruising at the steady speed around 19,550. There you have it. Today is also the weekly expiry. The only disappointing bit is the way the broader markets have performed. The mid-cap index has practically given up all its gains, just up close to about 27 points at that. In terms of the sectoral moves, IT banks providing leadership, so both those indices are up close to about 3/4 of a percentage point. L&T started moving up in the second half of the trading session, and now auto names. If you plot the intraday chart of Tata Motors, Bajaj Auto, M&M, all three of them are at the day's high. So that's another contributing sector now.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's what's playing out on the large cap screens. But here to be party spoiler, guys, you have to remember that it's a second day running of mid-cap underperformance. So that part of the market, it's kind of, there's a brake that's been applied, and people are not jumping back onto the mid-cap bandwagon in a hurry. So that's the underperformance that I was speaking of. Yesterday was far more apparent. But even today, I mean, mid-caps are, that indexes are barely 0.1, 0.2%. The advance decline ratio is, however, more positive, and that's the difference from yesterday. Today, at least the crisscross lines, the red and green, far more green than red, almost 2,000 advancing stocks and less than 1,000 declining stocks. So that's the positive part of it. Some interesting stock moves. The real estate is a very strong play today. Sobha, Prestige, I noticed Anantraj as well. A couple of these real estate stocks are clocking gains between 4, 5, 6%. Knight Frank's latest report on residential real estate, it's sounding extremely optimistic, talking about trends. In general, it's the same thesis continuing, that luxury housing is just flying off completely, even as the entry level continues to be slightly stagnant. So anyways, real estate is a theme to look at. And then, since we're talking World Cup, guys, look at Zomato. I mean, look at that stock move higher. Earlier, it used to be just one play in the form of pizza. We were discussing this yesterday as well. But now it's all about ordering whatever you want, whenever you want, right? Through the matches, through the games. Brilliant moves on this one. And not just this, some QSR stocks, Restaurant Brand Asia, for instance, that's managing a decent gain for itself, up about 6%, 4.5%, 5%. Good volumes on Restaurant Brand as well. Some of these World Cup plays are also up and about. Nigel, you ordering anything today? Or saving it for the weekend?
Yeah, for the weekend. For the weekend, I'll be on the ordering list for sure. You know, the big game on Sunday as well, when India plays, is going to be a cracker. Will be wearing my blue jersey. But for the time being, we have to play out the nifty expiry. So, you know, it's looking quite good, actually. 19,550 odd. Let's see whether or not the nifty can move towards the 19,600 in the next 50 minutes or so. But if we end somewhere in this vicinity, well, the bulls will feel, well, we've had a pretty good trading session, because the Qs overnight were positive, but we haven't seen any big drawdown. You want the nifty to end higher, because otherwise, you know, you'll get the texture of the market that, in fact, it's going to be sell on rise, which hasn't really happened today, at least on the headline index. How do you position yourself, though, in the final hour of trade? Mitesh joins us to help us out with that. Mitesh, what do you make of today's session? You know, we started off in the green. At one point of time, we were up 130, 140 points odd. But we're still holding with a gain of more than 100 points. Par for the course, you would say? And also give us your individual strategies.
So, I think, Nigel, this is a situation wherein the markets are trying to reverse from oversold levels. Now, I think Prashant highlighted a very important point of 19,726. On the intraday charts also, it's formed a strong pivot. But before that, I think 19,600, 610, which is where the intraday averages of plays needs to be cleared. So I'm looking at two levels possibly, 19,610 and then 19,720. I think the bounce back could possibly go towards those levels. Beyond that, it still looks difficult because the overall structure is on the weaker side. So next couple of days could be choppy, but you know, you might see declines being bought into. Also is the fact that today morning we had a gap up and there was no attempt to fill the gap. So I think, you know, closer to about 450, 460, strong support should come in. And therefore, if somebody wants to trade the index per se, and I'll still avoid the bank nifty. So nifty, if somebody wants to trade, the idea should be to buy closer to about 19,480, 490 and keep a stop below 19,450. I think, you know, then you might have a good risk reward equation with a fairly, you know, a supportive probability of markets moving in your direction. So I think that's the way we'll approach it. On the stock side, Sun TV, I think that's broken out. That's a buy. Keep a stop at about levels of 615 and a target of 660 can be looked at. And Aditya Birla Fashion, a strong reversal on the hourly chart. So that's a buy with a stop at about 216 for targets of 227.
And Sun has been, Mitesh, you know, favorite for you for some time, I remember. So that's working out nicely. Mitesh, we'll come back to you with more, you know, in a bit. But Naveen Fluorine is the first stock that we want to put some spotlight on. It's under pressure. We've got Jefferies, Kotak, both kind of weighing in, and with views which is weighing in on the stock. Sonal is here with details of what they're saying. Sonal.
Thank you so much for that. Well, yes, analysts are not very swayed by the commentary that came in from the management post the MD's resignation, that is Mr. Rajesh Welling. Since then, the stock has been under pressure. First, let me tell you what they said in the conference call. They spoke about how currently the search is underway for a suitable replacement, and the ongoing transition will not impact the ongoing projects because they had laid out a huge capex program as well. They expect to execute current and upcoming projects seamlessly, and they also believe that customer relationships with innovators as well will not be impacted because of the transition that is taking place. They said that yes, there is attrition at the top level management. They are working with human resources to address the same, and that has been a pain point for investors as well. They spoke about raising more funds in order to fund their future capex plans, and they have an enabling resolution for QIP as well. However, the analysts are still not very sure about that. In fact, Jeffrey says that current circumstances make it difficult for the company to raise equity. They have cut their EBITDA estimates by 13% on slower capex because the current macro environment is not also very positive due to higher inventory. They've downgraded the stock to a hold from a buy. They've cut the target price sharply to 3,625 versus 5,475. Nirmal Bang has a buy, but they've also cut the target price to 4,600 versus 5,000 earlier. So the uncertainty till the time the new MD is inducted and whether he or she will be able to take forward the capex program and the growth plans, the stock could see some decline in trade.
Okay, all right. Thanks very much, Sonal, for that. So that's Naveen Florin. Devin Chokshi is with us of DR Chokshi FinServ. Devin, good to have you with us here. Thank you for your time. Before I get to Naveen Florin and individual names, do you have a sense of what's happening, in terms of flows, in terms of how sentiment is holding up on the retail side? Because we had a bit of a dip, almost hit August lows on both the Nifty and the Bank Nifty yesterday. And we've got this 0.5% kind of bounce. Will it sustain your assessment? Devin, can you hear me? Okay, I don't think Devin can hear me. We'll get that connection going again and then go back to Devin. In the meanwhile, why don't we take a look at some of these stocks, right? I mean, look at something like a KCP. This is coming up. I think KCP, of course, is... it's got some sugar business, it's got some industrial machinery, 12.5% on that one. Big volumes, and actually so many of these names. Zomato, for example, there is Suzlon, which is locked up once again. Utkarsh Small Finance Bank should come up on your screen, 17% there. Again, no real news flow on Utkarsh Small Finance Bank, but it's been steady and gaining since the morning. Shipping Corporation is up about 7.5%. RR Kabil, which is the recent new listing, that is up 7%, almost at 1,500 rupees now. The other one, which is JSW Infra, which is the more recent to the two listings, that is taking a bit of a breather after what has been a pretty relentless rise from the day of the listing. Devin should be with us in just a bit, but Marico is the other one we want to put the spotlight on as well. Stocks down, second quarter sort of update came through. Mangalam is here with details on this one. Mangalam.
Well, Marico's second quarter update was rather soft on the top line account. In fact, the company said that their overall revenue declined in low single digits, and this with a volume growth of just low single digits as well. Why is that? Because demand conditions didn't change much in the second quarter as compared to the first quarter. While they're hopeful of this, demand recovering and business recovering in the second half of this year, it'll be important to see where it goes from here. However, no problems on the operational front. There was a sharp expansion in their gross margins. The company has reiterated their 20% EBITDA margin guidance for the year as well. And for the second quarter, their operating profit has actually seen an improvement in double digits itself. So that is something that the street, is choosing to ignore because that was already in the price. Remember a couple of days ago as well, Marico saw a bit of an uptick, largely on account of an upgrade coming in from ICICI Securities, and that was also penciling in higher margin expansion. So the margin expansion piece was in the price. Low top line growth and low single digit volume growth coming in is something that the street did not like, as a result of which the stock was lower.
Absolutely got that. Thanks very much, Mangalam, for the updates there on Marico. Stocks have taken it quite hard. I do think we have that line through with Devin. Devin, if we can get... good afternoon, first of all. Thank you for joining in. If we can get your view on both stocks. I mean, both are in the news today. Marico because of this update and all the drama surrounding the MD resignation at Naveen Florin, in case you've had a chance to sort of think through it.
Yes, Surabhi, good afternoon. I think Naveen Florin definitely has, a case here. On one side, the business condition wise, if you look at the company, the product launches and the new product launches coming up in the current calendar year as well as I think the next year, they are suggesting that the business will continue to grow at a good speed. However, if one looks at the valuations are not, I think, fully endorsing the same subject. Because even if I considered the projected price of Navin Fluorine and anything on that, if I look at 35 to 40 times price earning ratio, I feel the stock is expensive, largely from the point of view that the growth is not going to be catching up to the level at which I think the valuation is currently. That is one point. And of course, I think this particular reason for the sudden shift into the exit due to the exit of the top management, I think this is where probably I think you're going to see some amount of muted performance. One of the other concern will continue to remain because of the rise in the crude oil prices. Because of the rise in the crude oil prices, I think most of the companies in general will have not immediate impact, but I think in subsequent quarter, the impact coming onto the raw materials and that the margin will come under some pressure. That is what one is looking at. One will have to definitely examine by company for company. But this is one particular threat which remains as far as the chemical companies are concerned, specialty chemical companies are concerned. So I think this is where probably I think we would have a little bit of concern at this point of time on Navin Fluorine. So we believe that corrected valuation would mean relatively better opportunity to buy the stock when it falls. It has already fallen, but I think if it further falls, I think it could give further opportunity.
Okay, hi Deven, good afternoon. Deven, Oberoi Realty, the stock is under some big pressure in today's trading session. We know about that crash that the promoter entity was involved in. But the street is a little bit worried because there could be some kind of legal action on the promoter. But they have clarified that no, the reports are incorrect. Now, because of this sort of a news flow, the stock is down close to around 3.5%, and it saw a bit of a rebound. They have clarified here to CNBC-TV18 that the reports are incorrect, but still is down close to around 4%. What's your view on the stock? I mean, the real estate space is very well placed. So that's why I ask you.
Yeah, Nigel, good afternoon. Of course, I think the valuation-wise, once again, I think this is another concern that continues because most of the positives are factored into the price already. And any kind of negative probably would mean that the stock would have the pressure on the pricing front. So I may consider that I think this particular situation may be temporary and not going to be permanent. But I think on the other side, the condition in the real estate business, I think, remains absolutely very convincing. The premium housing segment particularly is seeing a very good amount of offtake, including, I think, the place where Oberoi Realty operates in Mumbai particularly. So all in all together, yes, I think the business condition remains conducive. Some amount of concern for the valuation because it is most of the positives are factored into the price. So that is where I think we stand. Maybe corrective downside would always bring another opportunity to buy into them.
Deven, amongst the banks which have reported their, pre-quarterly updates, their business updates for the second quarter, which one stands out for you where we could possibly see some earnings surprise in the coming quarters? Any standout performances for you?
So, Rima, definitely I think the banks which are basically suggesting higher amount of retail growth are the ones who would be preferred to the portfolio. We are seeing the situation, I think, good for even reported numbers of Bajaj Finance, which is an NBFC, large NBFC. We are also seeing, I think, the reported number for even the smaller comparatively bank like RBL, where also the retail credit growth, I think, is assuming about 30%. Likes of ICICI, likes of HDFC, they are once again suggesting that retail credit growth, I think, is remaining on a stronger wicket in this particular quarter as well. So in general, most of the banks are likely to have significantly better performance in this particular quarter. Also, the fact that I think some of the PSBs, including the larger one, including the PNB kind of banks, they are also reporting relatively sharper growth, including from the corporate side of the banking. So we believe that the overall performance should come good. However, the corrected valuation probably, I think, demands a look at likes of HDFC Bank, likes of ICICI Bank, purely from the point of view of investment. And I think this is where we believe that I think this opportunity is available to investors from the long-term investment perspective.
Okay, we'll take a quick commercial break here, Deven, but we'll come back. We will have Amit Jeswani of Stallion Asset on the other side. We continue, of course, the focus on markets. 120 points, so looking pretty steady and holding on to those gains. 19,560. Stay with us.
Welcome back. As the countdown begins for the 2024 elections, Goldman Sachs today has issued a note on the Indian markets, recommending a rotation to large-cap laggards with quality growth. Hormus is here to tell us what exactly Goldman's stance is on India now ahead of the elections. Hormus.
Well, you know, every time you draw closer to election, it's a very common ice-breaking question, but every time you draw close to an election, this question just grows a little louder, saying market ka kya hoga. But Goldman Sachs is not projecting what's going to happen to the market, but it's laid out its India strategy ahead of the election, and that strategy focuses on large cap quality stocks and hedging risks related to the volatility ahead of the election. Now, in its note, Goldman Sachs has mentioned that the Nifty, ahead of 6 months prior to an election, has rallied 10% or more in 4 out of the last 7 elections dating back to 1996. The implied volatility of the Nifty in the run-up towards the election goes up, and then it comes down again after the election. Now, the note further says that at current levels, the Nifty is only slightly ahead in valuation terms for any pre-election rally. But Goldman Sachs says that the mid-cap valuations are stretched, and as a result of which the MSCI India Index, which is currently trading at around 21 times price to earnings, is making India the most expensive major market amongst peers. And these current valuations are also the highest ever before any pre-election period. So Goldman Sachs is constructive on India over the medium term, but they are cautious over the next 3 to 6 months. Why is that so? That is, first things first, that's because of the rally that we have had so far from March until now, from 16,500 to 20,000, which has made valuations expensive. And the second reason being the other global risks like treasury yields, the dollar, the crude prices, and so on. So Goldman Sachs has come out with a list of 7 large cap stocks that they are betting on, and the common theme in those large cap stocks are all 7 of them are underperforming compared to the Nifty over the last 6 months. And those 7 stocks include the likes of HDFC Bank, Kotak Bank, ICICI Bank, Dabur, Ultratech, GCPL, and Infosys. Now, it has also highlighted some buy-rated names with better earnings quality. Now, those names also include some of the ones that I highlighted earlier, but they also include the likes of SBI Life, TCS, Adani Ports, and Marico, along with Larsen & Toubro. Lastly, since Goldman Sachs is also betting on the recovery in consumption, they have also highlighted certain consumption names which are trading below their historical averages, and those names include the likes of Indigo, Mahindra & Mahindra, and the delivery names like Zomato, Devyani International, PVR, Inox, Marico, and so on. Back to you.
Okay, got that. Very interesting. Thanks, Hormaz. So Goldman, they're getting a little cautious on India, specifically mid-caps, given the rally. Fair point, taken that on board. By the way, just want to go back to Zomato for an instance, because this rally is, of course, quite good today, 4.5%, 5%. Should point out that Morgan Stanley has struck an optimistic note on the stock. Zomato's had a good year. Pull up a one-year chart. I mean, 2023 itself, the stock has gained 70 to 80%. Morgan Stanley says there's further upside. Their price target is actually 125. And why is Morgan optimistic? They're saying the whole platform fee structure that Zomato has rolled out, that is being now pretty much absorbed and well received. Consumers are getting used to paying up for that platform fee. So that'll boost profitability going forward, and some of those metrics will start looking better and better in Q3 and Q4. That's when the real kicker will come in because of the platform fee levy that's now, that's well entrenched in the system. And then obviously there's the tailwind of the World Cup and all these sporting events. Perhaps that helps in increasing volumes. Devin, I'm not sure if you have coverage on Zomato. If not Zomato, the rest of the space, QSR in general. Any thoughts here? The stock, that Zomato, of course, it's had a phenomenal move this year.
Yeah, of course. I think having seen probably worse, having seen, I think, the kind of correction that they've done into the revenue model, the pricing model as well. I think this is where probably this company has registered the claim that they can immediately get into the profit-making mode than what they were up till now. At the same time, I think the Diwali has come a little early for Zomato, largely because of the fact that World Cup season is starting. And this is basically a good news for most of the QSRs and the delivery channel companies like Zomato. They would probably have a higher amount of business to talk about in this particular period of the next 1.5 months. So all in all, put together, yes, momentum is favoring this particular company at this point of time. Fundamental are also, I think, shaping up relatively better than what they were before. Of course, I think the valuation is adequately priced as I see it today. But generally seen that whenever the trend becomes favorable, I think valuations would remain expensive for a period of time, after which it starts getting corrected. So I think there is still an element of upside left into this particular stock as I see it at current levels.
Devin, so it's the platform fee, the expectation of demand recovery, which is driving up Zomato's stock price. And the stock has recovered from lows of nearly 40. What about Paytm? Paytm last November had gone down to levels below 450, and now it's at nearly 900. So that stock too has doubled in the last 11 months. What's the narrative that's changed for Paytm to explain this doubling?
Well, I think the overall the corrective strategy is being employed by the company, which is possibly preventing them from making those kind of blowout losses that they were making up till now. Those corrective strategies in each of the verticals where they are operating, I think, are playing its role. So one is not completely sure whether I think respective verticals are making enough amount of cash generation at all at the same time. But I would think that if the fall is arrested in making losses, then possibly I think one can argue for relatively better price outlook for the company going forward. Though we don't have the full coverage, so would refrain from giving any kind of a further view on valuation and the target price actually.
Good speaking with you. I think the only one of these new age companies which listed over the last 2 years, which has not picked up, is delivery. I mean, apart from that, I think most have done well over the last 1 year from their lows, basically. Thank you for joining us, Devin. Amit Jeswani is founder and CIO at Stallion Asset. He's joining us now to take some questions. Amit, good to have you with us here. Thanks very much for your time. How much cash are you sitting on, Amit? Or all normal at kind of regular kind of levels, or is this a time you're sitting on a little bit more in terms of cash? What are you doing?
Prashant, good afternoon, and thank you so much for having me on your show. Our cash levels would be 2%, very normal. We're mostly 100% invested all the time. We mostly always have more opportunities than money. That's the case today as well.
Okay, all right. Hi, Amit. Good afternoon. Nigel on this side. I was looking at a Stallion Asset Core Fund. I think the AUM is more than 800 crores right now. And I think you're bracing for a 5th year anniversary. Rough, calculations suggest that you'll give returns of more than 25% net of fees. So pretty good going. But obviously, the markets have been so good as well in the last 5 years or so. Of late, what have you all done? Have you all added any new stock? If yes, with disclosures, could you tell us the rationale for that?
So, Nigel, just a disclosure, Stallion Asset, we're a SEBI-registered PMS and a research analyst firm. What I speak about today is they're not recommendations, and these are just for education purposes. Me, my family, my clients have vested interest in whatever I speak about. So, coming to what we've added this quarter, we're hyper bullish on the consumer tech for next 1 year. But what we've added this quarter would be Angel One, the broking company that we've added the last quarter. That's the one stock that we've added. This quarter onwards, you start. So even in the bear market, most broking business gets very low P multiples because they are cyclicals, and in bad times the volume goes down. But that's not the number of trades. Even in bad times, that the 18-month bear market that we had from October 21 to March 23, the number of trades of Angel or any other brokerage never went down. Angel's market share has improved from 8% 2 years back to now 14%. They should come out with updates tomorrow probably, and that should start showing 40-50% kind of growth. And here your cost is fixed. And if your revenues move up 40-50%, you massively see a J-curve in profits. That's the theme. And there's one more play here, which is just no recommendations, of course, but even MCX has started with options 1.5-2 years back. They, of course, have software problems going on, but that problem should finish by December quarter. The analyst suggests that last year's revenue that was around 500 crores for MCX can be next year's profit for MCX if options volume do what they are doing. So options is very new in MCX. 12,000 crores is the revenue of NSE, which is largely because of options. MCX is just getting started on the options side. So that is one. You need to keep a track, of course, of these things every quarter and make your adjustments in your expectations. But MCX this quarter should do 80-90 crores of option revenues. That is and your cost doesn't increase. So that is the game that we are playing in most of our stocks.
Question, Angel and actually just Angel, did you buy it for the first time in the last quarter, or you added to already existing positions?
So Prashant, we bought Angel first time at 350. We sold out at 1200 completely, around 1200 levels. And now we've entered again for the first time last quarter. We were very surprised by the number of trades moving higher even in bear markets. Dinesh Thakkar would always say that options volumes don't get impacted even in a bear market, because people are just playing for a few points here, like 2% up and down. And that was the case when a bear market struck. The options volume, the number of trades, because here you're getting 20 rupees per trade. So the number of trades don't get impacted. And we love companies which are gaining market share every quarter, and that's happening in Angel very aggressive.
Have you lightened any positions? Because that's where the trick is, right? When do you get off? As you said, on Angel One itself, you all got in early, but you all got off early as well, and you'll have re-entered at a later date. So picking a good stock is good, but even you need to time your exit. So have you lightened positions in anyone with due disclosures?
We've sold some Titan. We've sold HDFC Bank last quarter. HDFC Bank is now about 1% or probably less than 1% weight in our portfolio. HDFC Bank is growing at 15% pro forma. Like day before yesterday's update was also pro forma growth of 15.2%. Nigel, India's entire loan market, the banks that have given loans is about 136 lakh crores. That is up to March 23. The total loans that Indian banks had given was 136 lakh crores. Out of that, if you see yesterday's update of HDFC Bank was about 23.5 lakh crores. So HDFC Bank is 17% of India's total lending market already, and we don't see massive market share gains anymore, plus minus 2%. See, India's nominal GDP is growing at 14%. For us to bet on a lending business which is leveraged at 8 times, you need to grow at least 20, 25, 30%. Like Bajaj Finance, we still hold in the portfolio. We're very happy with 33% AUM growth. You're growing 2 times the credit industry, 2 times the nominal GDP growth, and that makes us hold a leveraged positions, or else for 15% growth, we have better options available.
Okay, got that. Amit, hi. I'm going to come back to the theme of the moment, and that is this sporting bonanza that's kicking off today, right? The World Cup. So the talking point today has been this Bank of Baroda report where the economists at the bank said that this event could add about, I think, $2.6 billion to the Indian economy. I don't know if you share that kind of enthusiasm or not, but tell us, are you expecting a spending spree? Because there's World Cup and the festive season, I mean, they're coinciding. And if you are expecting, a deluge of higher spends, then how would you look to play this consumer boom?
So we typically don't play for one quarter. That's a very small, we can't make investments based on World Cups. But we have some consumer electronic names. We have even the delivery trade, which is there, like Zomato, we have in our portfolio. No recommendations, of course. Yes, and these are players. We have one electronic retailer in Bihar, which is scaling up very well, which is growing at 30-40%. This quarter might be a little weak at 25-30% for them, but post this quarter, I expect growth to be 40% plus for them for at least next 3-4 quarters. That electronic retailer, which I'm speaking about, is Aditya Vision. It's a very small company, so I don't want to speak much about it. Yes, it does ROEs of 50%, grows at 40%, 30%, quarter over quarter, consumer-facing companies. Those are the kind of companies you want to be in. In consumers, you want high growth. And once we get that, we bet aggressively. But to your question on World Cup, only place, we don't have such stocks, but we've not that's not part of a thesis, at least now.
No, but fair enough. I think the kind of names and the sort of stocks you mentioned, I think they more than cover you to play the little bit that we'll have perhaps over the next month and a half. Rima.
Amit, out of time, but thank you very much for your time, and enjoy the World Cup. We'll keep chatting with you. The big event that investors around India will be watching will be the RBI monetary policy. The committee meeting is currently underway. The decision will be out tomorrow morning. Ritu joins us with the key expectations. Ritu.
The Reserve Bank's Monetary Policy Committee is widely expected to keep rates on hold for the 4th consecutive time and strike a hawkish tone with the recent volatility in global crude prices and global central banks setting up for a longish pause. 100% of the respondents to our poll expect a status quo policy this time around. no rate hikes are expected in the entire financial year, and a rate cut could be pushed to the next financial year, with 40% expecting it in the first quarter and another 30% in the second quarter. But really, this is going to depend on how inflation pans out. Now, the MPC is also expected to leave the policy stance unchanged at withdrawal of accommodation, because the last tranche of that 50,000 crores impounded by RBI with the incremental CRR returns to the system in October. Half of our respondents expect the RBI to revise the consumer inflation projection upwards marginally, while the other half expect it to be left unchanged at 5.4%. The GDP forecast is also unlikely to be tinkered with in this policy. And now, anything said on liquidity is going to be very closely watched. We asked our respondents where they see the interbank call rate for the rest of the year, and a large majority sees it at 6.5 to 6.75%, which is a tad above the repo rate. This is because dealers say with the US yields giving a near 5% risk-free return, RBI will have to keep short-term rates higher to attract dollar inflows and prevent any speculative outflows. And lastly, the tone of the policy is likely to be quite hawkish, as macroeconomic developments, especially on the global front, will leave little room for RBI to sound dovish. So to sum all of this up, while there's unlikely to be any major action on rates, the commentary is what the markets will watch out for, and more importantly, the inflation projection from the biannual monetary policy report will give an indication of just how far away we are from any hopes of a rate cut.
Okay, Ritu, nicely summed up. Thank you very much for preparing us for the event outcome tomorrow. Right now, a very quick break. Back with more on the markets in just a bit.
Welcome back. Well, the markets are holding on to a 100-point gain. The only problem is now the mid-cap index is again going into the red, so just keep an eye out on that front. Though from the broader markets, one stock I wanted to highlight, Balkrishna Industries. Just take a look at it. It's having a bit of a breakout moment. You pull up the intraday chart of Balkrishna Industries, and that stock suddenly has spiked up to the high point of the day. So just keep an eye out on that one as well. Mitesh is back with us to give us some buy or sell, ideas which you can reverse in the coming days. Mitesh?
Najil, I have Balkrishna on my radar. I think, the long-term charts are very good. And today, I think after a few days of consolidation, the stock is breaking into fresh highs. So a good BTST, even a trading buy can be taken. If somebody wants to take a BTST, the recommended stop would be about 25.65 and a target of 26.40 can be looked at. While for a trading call, I would take a slightly deeper stop at about levels of 25.40 and a slightly positional target of around 2700 to about 27.20 on the upside. Is what I think the stock can do. And the other stock on my list is Birla Soft, a BTST call or BSoft. That's a BTST with a stop at about 508 for targets of 522.
Okay, all right, got that, Mitesh. Thanks very much. Well, let's get to the big event then. The Cricket World Cup is finally underway with what is being called a bit of a grudge match between 2019 finalists England and, of course, New Zealand. They're facing off in Ahmedabad as we speak. World Cup 2023 will see the men in blue look to carry on India's fortunes on home soil in the biggest tournament in the sport. But can anyone upset India's hopes for the third World Cup trophy? We ask experts, former Indian cricketer Kiran More and current cricketers Kedar Jadhav and Manoj Tiwari.
India has got a very good chance, but India, England, Australia, and the fourth one is South Africa for me.
Bharat. Favorite is India, definitely.
Top four for me, India, Australia, England, and South Africa.
Bharat, Australia, England, and Pakistan. I think Australia, India, South Africa, and New Zealand.
Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma, Josh Butler, Klaasen, and Markram.
Rohit Sharma will be top scorer in the World Cup. There is only one name comes up, which is Shubman Gill.
Kuldeep Yadav.
Kuldeep Yadav, Mohammad Siraj, and Rashid Khan.
Ben Stokes, Hardik Pandya.
Hardik Pandya. Hardik Pandya.
South Africa.
New Zealand. Always been New Zealand.
Kuldeep Yadav, young player, very talented. So he's going to be very, very crucial for India. And watch out for him, he's bowling really well.
Shubman Gill. Shubman Gill, definitely.
Well, that's like a straw poll about the World Cup and, who will come out on tops in various departments. K. Srinivas Rao is Group Editor, Sports Network 18. He's also joining us. Srinivas, good to have you with us here. Thanks very much. Let me actually put that to you. Which are the 2 or 3 teams to watch out for as we kick off this World Cup?
2 teams, India versus England. I'll make a prediction here. You're possibly looking at an India versus England semi-final at Wankhede. And I can only hope that we bury the ghosts of 1987 and Graham Booth's team, because that's where I see this building up. If you ask me 2 of the strongest teams in the tournament, it is India and England. And let me add a bit here. When you look at this England team, it's a bit scary. The depth they have in their batting lineup and the all-round attack that they have at their disposal. And the only team that can challenge them on a given day is India. So I think that will be the clash we look for. Or that will be the contest we look for.
And what about the other 2 players who will make it to the semi-finals? And between India and England, what does your head and heart tell you? Who's going to win?
Given the conditions in mind, the fact that we're playing at home, we enjoy the crowd support here, which is going to be massive. And look at the kind of venues that have been picked for these, big India games and the big semi-finals. Keeping all of that in mind, I think the advantage there lies with India because the crowd support lies in India's favor. And also the fact that our guys have been picking up at a very right time. It is at a very crucial juncture that we've seen the entire top order actually come good. KL Rahul has got a century under his belt. Virat Kohli has the same. Rohit has been looking good. Shubman finally got some runs. So overall, it's been looking pretty good from a team perspective.
Okay, all right.
So I'd
Hi,
say
Srinivas.
it's in India's favor.
All right, goosebumps as you speak about that semi-final, and if it could be at Wankhede, wow, would love to be a part of it. So the batting is firing, but also the bowling is looking quite good. Who do you think we play? I mean, who needs to sit out? Some would have said that Ashwin didn't make it to the initial list, but he's made it now. So what would be the best bowling attack that we should put forward?
Listen, I mean, if I'm a strong believer in horses for courses. We start in Chennai. And if it doesn't, take rain out of the equation right now. Let's hope that we get a full 100 overs. If it's a full 100 overs, I would definitely go into the game with Ashwin in the scheme of things. Chennai traditionally slow wicket. If it doesn't rain, I would rather take that risk and have a variety in my attack. And with the kind of form that Mohammad Siraj is in, and just Hardik Pandya taking over the role of the third base, going with two extra spinners, and Kuldeep and Ashwin are there. I mean, I'm looking at Jadeja as a batter right now. That's it. And then, of course, he provides the bowling, but that gives me a good rounded attack.
Srinivas, hi. So, okay, top 3 players to watch, India and beyond this year?
I'm sorry, come again? I lost you there.
Who would be your top 3 players to watch? India and other teams included. Some audio trouble there. Srinivas, can you hear us? Okay. I think kind of lost that line there, but his optimism is definitely rubbing off, guys. I mean, I like all the factors that he outlined, starting that we've got the home crowd advantage here, and decent form, good showing against Australia. So, who's to say? Maybe it's hat-trick time. I mean, not in succession years, but third cup, perhaps.
And we've got the semi-final prediction as well. But I think he's back with us, Surabhi.
Okay, Srinivas, if you can hear us, I was asking you, who would be your top 3 players to watch in the World Cup this time?
Okay, KL Rahul. For me, the batter in this India lineup that I'm looking forward to. That's from an India perspective. England, Ben Stokes. Because right now, there's nothing that the guy can't do on the field. And, always great to watch a player of his caliber. The third, I'm saying, if we were to look at Australia playing any formidable role in this World Cup, or we're looking at Australia coming in with all its fire and glory, they need Mitchell Starc to fire. So Mitchell Starc will have to play a very prominent role for Australia to go anywhere. That onus lies on Ben Stokes. From an India perspective, I'm willing to take this. Going by a hunch, KL Rahul will be the batter.
KL Rahul, okay. Okay, got that. So, Srinivas, the conversation on the World Cup is incomplete without the mention of, one certain Mr. Virat Kohli. You tell us, because there was a bit of, a press on this. I think he missed the warm-up game. He had to fly back to Mumbai, but then he joined the team back. Anything in specific that you'll watch out here? What's your sense about his form and the kind of contribution you would expect?
Well, what can I say? I mean, you talk about Virat, and, he's going into a tournament for once without any responsibility. He's going with an absolute free mind. You look at him in net sections, you look at him in matches when he's not playing. Forget when he's playing, the game against Pakistan, he got a century in a crucial game, great partnership with KL Rahul, so it put him in good stead. Look at the matches in which he's not playing, like, for instance, the next game against Bangladesh. He got rested, and you could see the guy having fun on the field, walking out with the drinks for his players, dancing out on the field, having fun with his teammates. The other day we saw him in the final where Mohammad Siraj was bowling against Sri Lanka Asia Cup final. That ball went to the boundary all the way, and Siraj ran, and, Virat and Shubman Gill in the slips having fun. So that's the kind of mood Virat is in, and that kind of mood is dangerous. Because, again, here's a guy who's kind of coming with no baggage, and that should be a big warning sign for the opposition, and I think it augurs well for India. I would say, at home, in the conditions that are so familiar. It goes without saying that they're all set to enjoy the World Cup as it comes.
And Srinivas, lastly, before we let you go, for those who are now getting onto the World Cup to try and book tickets, etc., any word of advice?
Good luck.
Watch it at home, is it? on the TV.
Oh, well, I mean, there's nothing like actually catching it, getting an in-stadium experience.
Absolutely.
And especially, guys, for the kind of venues that BCCI has zeroed in on, for the India matches to be all of them prime time. I would like to just add one bit. The one venue and one team that India needs to be extremely careful about is Dharamshala and New Zealand. We play New Zealand at a very tricky venue. You know, it'll have those seeming conditions that will suit the likes of Trent Bolt perfectly. That is one game we need to be very, very careful about. And that's one venue that I'll be looking forward to for the World Cup.
Srinivas, just a quick question. What are tickets selling at? If you want to buy and you want to buy from someone else, what we call in black, how much do you have to pay now for an India ticket?
No black rim, only white.
Only white? I mean, just resale.
If you go on Twitter, there are people who are selling you tickets, the same tickets as some, God knows, I mean, like, I actually, there was a Twitter message I remember, it said, DM me for tickets. I actually DM'd the guy. I said, so just out of curiosity to check, is this guy saying the truth? He actually told me, come over to this place and, you pay me a little bit of money, you come over to this place, I'll hand you the tickets. But that happens everywhere in the world. That's the thing with big ticket matches.
Ticket scams.
Get to know how much it's for. But
We usually talk about on our channel. We usually talk about investors being wary of the trading tips, investment advice, and all other kinds of scam. But I think we have to be very wary of supposed ticket scams as well. It is that season, right?
Well, Srinivas, great conversation. We look forward to hearing more from you, more of your insights through the
And hope
course.
you can join us through the course of the World Cup. I mean, especially in crucial
He's got
junctures.
his tickets booked, I'm sure.
The semi-final is one, the Dharamshala match is the other one, which you highlighted.
Any of you going and watching the game? Srinivas, I'm sure. Will you be at the India-Pakistan game?
Yes, I'll be there at the India-Pakistan.
All right. I don't know about my co-anchors, but, I was just speaking to a friend and they said, Nigel, once in a lifetime, India taking on Pakistan at the Narendra Modi Stadium, you can't miss it. So I'm just trying to rework my plans and hopefully I'll be there at the stadium as well to watch it live.
Oh, you should be there.
Absolutely cracker it's going to be.
To whoever is listening to what I'm going to say, trust me, it's going to be a spectacle. Although it's going to be a one-sided game, given how the two teams stack up, I would say it's going to be a one-sided game in favor of India, or it's going to be a game comfortably in favor of India. But that said, India versus Pakistan in a stadium that has a capacity of 110,000 plus, it's going to be a spectacle to look forward.
Absolutely.
Indeed.
It's going to be a riot, right? In the right sense. The right sense of the word. Thank you very much, Srinivas. Great conversation, great chat, and look forward to speaking with you again. Over the course of this World Cup. So that's the event which is kicking off, and I think absolutely looking forward to it. Kicked off, actually. 2 o'clock, right? Kicked off. Well, I think we've got about 5 minutes to go for market closing. We have to take a quick commercial break before that. But with news that the market is still holding on to the same 100 points it started the day with. So no let off there. We are back, and we'll wrap up things for you on the other side. Okay, welcome back. Just 60 seconds to go for close. We're going to end like we opened. I mean, 100 points higher is how we started. We end up 100 points here on the Nifty, 19,541. I think the Nifty Bank also will end in a pretty sort of a good way, about 0.5% higher. Although on the Nifty Bank, it's a much more, from the highs, there was almost 0.5%, 0.6% kind of sell-off which happened, which we highlighted earlier as well. The other indices, the Nifty Mid-Cap Index ends, I think, flattish, actually slightly lower even, about 10 or 11 points. The Small Cap Index, I think, ends up, so that's up about 0.5% or so. All in all, a pretty decent day, pretty good day. We need some more action, some more positive action from US markets like the kind we got yesterday overnight for this to continue and for the market to build on when we come back tomorrow. Guys.
And tomorrow is the RBI monetary policy, so remember it's going to be a very crucial session. Well, the surprise sectoral winner turned out to be auto. At the beginning of trade, it was all about IT and banks providing leadership, but auto is the top sectoral gainer with a rally of more than 1%. Bajaj Auto, the top Nifty gainer, 2% plus, M&M gaining 1.7%, L&T was a smart, mover. In the IT pack, TCS and Infosys rallying close to about 1.5%. On the downside, power, a couple of consumption names like Nestle, Tata Consumer, soft in trade.
Okay, today was a good day for mid-cap, new age internet stocks, I'd have to say. Though overall, mid-caps didn't have such a good run. The mid-cap index is ending with a small, tiny red tinge, 2 points lower. But look at Zomato, 5% higher. Look at Paytm, 4% higher. Angel One, 6.5%. So a lot of these, quasi-internet plays, they've had a good fintech plays. They've had a good day today. Even Motilal Oswal, actually, since we're looking at brokers now. Interesting moves on some of them. What else moved up on the mid-cap side of the screen? You had, of course, Restaurant Brands Asia. That was some of the World Cup fervor sort of rubbing off. Crude cooled off, so stocks like JK Tyre had a good run. The profit taking was on mid-cap financials. PNB, RBL Bank, Union Bank, these were the names, Bandhan Bank, UCO. Basically, financials is where the money was coming off on the mid-cap screen today. But otherwise, a day that belonged to the bulls, some small gains coming in, 100 points up on the Nifty. That's how we are closing out. Well, with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Closing Bell. Thank you very much for watching, but do stay with us because our Thursday special big deal is coming up next.